Greetings, brothers and sisters. I want to start with this. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a narrative in the middle of the video or at the end. Something that I'm continuing on from my video on my other channel. And of course, there's a video that I'm waiting to get cleared on this channel. So I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. But it says here, tech employees are much more liberal than their employers, at least as far as the candidates that they support. And there was a graphic that Elon Musk shared. Let's see if I can. Let's make this a little bigger here. These are employee donations to midterm candidates by party. Netflix, 96% blue. Twitter, 99.6, 98.7, right? Airbnb, Apple, Stripe, Lyft, Google Alphabet, Salesforce, Facebook, Tesla. All of these places, right? eBay, PayPal, Microsoft, Amazon, Uber. These are the employees, this is where that they donate their money. Especially these social media networks here, Twitter, and this is, even before, even now with Elon Musk, Facebook, and then these other, Google. And so you have an extreme, one-sided. And again, I'm not a Republican, and I believe that the Republican Party has, self-inflicted a lot of what's happening now to all of us by their behavior when they were in control, right? When people, when they had more power. But you can see why there's just no fair and balanced type of attitude because of the extreme division between the left and the right, and social media is dominated by the left. Here it says, I'm treated worse than Hamas. Fury at Twitter's secret blacklists and visible filtering as new tranche of files reveal conservatives were marked do not amplify and COVID lockdown skeptics shadow ban. And so this is stuff that's all being leaked now, which we've known went on forever, but now Elon Musk is leaking it. So one of my viewers sent me this. I was going to include it in my other video today on my, Apocalypse Now channel, the Celine Dion Hollywood celebrities dropping like flies. But I was also going to say something in that video that I forgot to say, and I'm going to say it after I show you this.
The content is... It's funny because comedians always get asked, is there anything you wouldn't joke about? But journalists don't get asked, is there anything you wouldn't write about? And all we're doing is discussing a subject, but very quickly and hopefully with a punchline. So it just depends on the joke. Comedy comes from a good or a bad place.
So I do a long introduction to that video, my Celine Dion video, which I put up today. And, I was talking about this at the end of the video as well. So these videos are tied together. And one thing that I wanted to say that I didn't. See, there's such a, it's not just divisive. It's that if you're an official story person, if you believe the official story, it's gotten to the point where you have to say that politicians don't lie, that at least, you can say Trump lies because that's part of the official story, but that the Democrats don't lie, and the Democrats don't rig elections, and the Democrats would never cheat, right? All these people on the left. The Republicans are saying this too about Trump, and, that is whatever it is too, delusional, but they're out of power, right? The liberals own the media, the liberals own the social media. They have all the power right now. They don't have all the power, but most of it, right? And, the things that are most powerful now, the most powerful thing is social media, which they're trying to control, right? And if you're somebody who buys into that theory, you have to believe that the Democrats and the media and the social media would never do anything bad. The medical community would never do anything to harm you, right? Like, that's what you have to buy into to believe this. Because if you had any doubt in what they're saying, for example, if you had any doubt, and I'll show you, the latest gaffe of Jojo Magoo, in Jojo Magoo's sanity, you just have to look at a video and say, oh my God, the guy's senile. You'd have to take off your blinders, because you have to have blinders on to not see that, right? You'd have to have blinders on not to see that he has a crackhead son, and that his son's crack addiction and his, family, I mean, his whole family, and, things that Jojo Magoo himself has done is corrupt, right? You'd have to have blinders on not to see that. And you have to have blinders on to think Trump is a hero and will save you. I mean, you have to have blinders on to believe the official story about any of these people, because, or your religion or whatever it is, right? If you're a Republican or a Democrat, you have to have blinders on, and you have to deny reality and all the mountain of evidence that's there in front of you. You have to not look at it and be hostile towards it, and you have to look at anybody presenting you that evidence of questioning your reality, as an enemy to you. And that's why they've come up with this term, crazy conspiracy theorists, and making your thoughts and your beliefs a danger to the system, because they are. Because they are a danger to the system. And I've said before, I don't want everybody to wake up, because the system would collapse immediately. If everyone was a truther, the system would collapse immediately. And so then you would be really screwed. So, I mean, I don't care. It's never been my goal to wake everybody up. It's my duty to present information, but I don't want everybody to get it, right? It's not up to me, it's up to them. And most people won't. Like, most people just won't get it on a deeper level. Like, even the people who watch my videos, lots of them don't get it, right? They have to have hopium. You have to have hopium in your society when your society is, based in lies, right? You have to have some hopium, or otherwise I mean, it's very hard for people to accept the corruption, accept the delusion, and keep on plugging along, with no hope, right, of it ever getting better. It's very hard to keep on plugging along just because your system is taking care of you and you don't have a choice, right? People have to believe in some hope, some good things going to happen to them. I mean, in America, it's easier because we have a better lifestyle, and people can rise up economically, at least. I mean, less and less now, but, other countries, you're born into a caste, you're born into a segment of the population, and you ain't going nowhere. Like, there's no chance for you to, you can be born in, like, horrific poverty, and there's zero chance of you rising out of that poverty. And if it is, it's becoming a criminal. Your one chance is criminality, right? There's no lottery ticket winners. There's no success stories. You're born into a situation, and there's some people who their nutrition is so low and their physical condition is so bad, like they're never going to have the mental or the physical strength, the mental capacity or the physical strength to get out of their situation. They're just in it. They're born in it, and they ain't going nowhere. That's their life. They're stuck in it for the rest of their life. And even they have to have some hopium. Everyone has to dream. If you're suffering, and you're suffering, your whole life with no hope, then you just give up, right? You get broken. You break, and then that's it, right? And so I don't want to take people's hopium away, because the society would collapse, and it's going to collapse anyway. But there's only so many people that can accept the truth that our material system is going to collapse, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It's going to end. All systems end, but this one is going to end badly. But you're here for a spiritual reason. You're here for your soul. And so whatever you have to endure, it's worth it, right? Very few people can, and there's deeper levels of truth than that, but that's, most people can't even, get a whiff of that, right? They can't even, I mean, they can't do it, and that's fine. It's just you are wherever you are, right? But, the people who accept the official story, you have to believe that there's no deception. Because once you believe that your people will lie to you, that your Republicans will lie to you, or your Democrats will lie to you, or your, whoever it is, right? Your truthers will lie to you, everyone will lie to you. And, there's no way of ever getting to the bottom of things. But you can't trust the system, right? I mean, if you're going to turn yourself over to the medical community, you have to ignore all the bad history of, doctors, and then you have to ignore all the mounting evidence that they scammed you, and like, I mean, the physical symptoms you're going through, right? You have to be oblivious. You have to, completely be divorced from reality, right? And there's people like this. My wife she has a friend whose, husband suffered dramatically after the what. I mean, hospitalized and never sick, like someone who's healthy his whole life and fell off the cliff. And he still doesn't believe that it was the what, neither does his family. And the woman is like, she's at her wit's end, right? She can't believe he doesn't get it. I mean, he's on the death spiral. I talked about this in my other video where people are hearing the news like Celine Dion and, Ashton Kutcher and these other people. They're hearing the news, hey, you're sick, you're not going to die yet, but your life is never going to be the same. Your physical body is never going to be the same. And it's just going to get worse over time, right? And more people are getting that news, right? That you're booped, right? You're booped. Boop. You're booped. Like it's just, and physically and then every other way. And you've trusted a system that's untrustworthy. But that's where so many people are. Like, and they can't hear anything against it because they have to believe in it, right? It's their security blanket. They've bet on the system. Everyone's betting on the system, and it's going to play out one way or another. And in that bet, to tie it back to what this was, Ricky Gervais was saying and these other people, and I, don't agree with Ricky Gervais. He's very hyper liberal and all these things. But what you believe is now, it's a war on people who are going to say things against the system, because that's where you end up in a 1984 type situation, dystopian world, where the system is so messed up that you can't have anybody saying anything against it, especially when the internet opened up and, real information started to be passed around the internet. And so now they have to do everything in their power to close that down, because the system can't survive truth. It can't survive reality, right? It's a delusional, it's an illusion-based system. The money isn't real, and everything that's tied to the money, which is everything, isn't real either, because it's all dependent on money that's based in debt. And so the truth can't coexist with that reality, right? You can't look behind the curtain, or you're screwed. And so, this is, it's really important to understand this, right? For all the reasons. Now let's get back into it. There's more stories here. Okay, so this is Alec P. Baldwin. I started making this video yesterday, but I noticed he had a little plug for Greenpeace I wanted to cover. And Britney Spears is doing something weird again that my viewers let me know about. And so there was a few comments. I read them. I read some of them. And it often comes in waves, right, where I don't know if it's an orchestrated movement, and I don't know why it would be. People are often saying, I told you all that, my video got demonetized, and everyone's like, oh, they're out to get you or censor you. It's all bots. Like, YouTube doesn't care about me. Like, they're not. I've been evaluated as whatever I am, right, to YouTube in terms of my contribution. They run ads on my channel. They make some money or whatever. I stay, within the community guidelines, but the powers that be at YouTube or in the world are not worried about my little YouTube channel. People say that they're trying to censor me. They have bots that go through things and they look for something. Maybe it's an image or whatever it is. I don't know what triggers the demonetization process, but it's the same thing as the community guidelines process. Oftentimes there is a clip that's used that YouTube deems as being, this or that or the other thing. And so they're not out to get me. They're not out, not in the sense of like, as an individual. There is a trend towards promoting liberal stuff and, pushing away conservative stuff or truther stuff, right? Suppressing it. That's the only thing. It's, but it's all done by bots, right? They're not, But anyways, I got these comments were saying that I was obsessed with Alec Baldwin, which I, made light of in these things. And this happens quite often when when I cover a celebrity or a subject for an extended period of time. The reason I do it is easier for me. Like, it gets boring for me after a while, unless there's a story like with Alec and his, I was covering Alec, and then his wife got rolled for faking an accent, and then he shot a coworker. So, and I was covering him just for him ragging on Trump and being a hypocrite or whatever. But then it got really interesting. But, for now, I'm keeping his tab open. I just closed the Will Smith tab. I did this already, but I didn't have my video player on. But I have Hilarious tab open as well. She's not posting things. They're both, pretty soon I'll take these tabs down, and the only time I'll cover them is if, every once in a while I'll pull up Instagram and see if they're, pull up their Instagram accounts, which is what I do now. Like every, 3 or 4 days I'll see if they've done anything. I used to have Madam Expiration Date up. And I have Britney Spears, who every once in a while her account disappears. Apparently she did something weird there. She's cutting a rose here, and this is, I'll cover this video clip here. But you have people that come in and they try to use, reverse psychology by insulting you or accusing you of something and thinking that that's going to change your behavior, like in terms of what I cover or not, right? And it's, it's the level of people being controlling and trying to control what I do here. And these people are doing it all over the internet. People are doing this all over the internet. That's what censorship is. That's what pressure is. People are, that's when people say, oh, I'm unsubscribing. They're trying to control what you cover and what you do and what you say and what you believe. It's everybody. There's so many controlling people out there. Like, just go away, right? Like, they're just obsessed with stopping people from expressing themselves. I mean, this is, a big part of what's wrong with the world today. 'Cause it's not just the people I call the controllers. It's pretty much, all these people that can't handle that other people believe things differently than they do, right? And so they try to use these tactics. I cover them in comments, and it's so pathetic and transparent, right? Like, I do what's best for the channel. I cover celebrities because it's, something that's profitable, and it's something that helps keep my channel going. And I didn't like it at first, but I've, come to enjoy it. And, it gets boring. A celebrity gets boring, or a story dies, and I move on. Like Celine Dion, I covered quite a bit, and now it's coming back around again. And the people I know a little bit, and I've invested some time and research into, it makes it easier for me to do. But Alec Baldwin has had his nuts clipped, and Hilaria Baldwin just said that she wants to, get him to have a vasectomy. And he's no longer really posting political things anymore. He does an ad here for some people in Greenpeace. This is something he's forwarding or posting, promoting here.
Hi, everybody. This is a request for help. So our posts about our holiday fundraiser this year are getting quite a few likes. They're getting shared, they're getting attention, but that attention isn't really converting into donations. And I'm not entirely sure why. So I just want to highlight.
I'm not entirely sure why. It's not converting into donations. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's because you talk like that, or maybe it's because you're raising money for the Ukraine, right? There's a great clip that somebody sent me. I'll maybe show it in my next video here. But it's it's a scene from a movie where a guy is mocking a woman for talking like that. It's kind of great. I'll try to include that one in my future videos.
What can I get you?
I'd like a large coffee.
Okay, so hot coffee.
Hot coffee.
Okay, room for cream.
Totally leave room for cream.
Why are you talking like that?
Why are you talking like that?
Because this is my voice?
This is my voice.
No.
This is great. The person said that they ripped off my bit, the person who sent this to me, but this is great. It's better than what I do. This is, as you see it progress, it's more sophisticated. It's part of a movie. And so, it's a great thing they're doing. I don't know what movie this is. I'd like to watch it, but somebody will tell me. One person can tell me, Like one person can tell me, and the rest, We don't need 100 comments saying this is that movie.
It's not. I heard you talking a minute ago. I know you don't talk like that.
Neither do you, because nobody actually talks like this. You choose to talk like this, and today I chose to talk like this. Pretty fucking annoying, isn't it?
Why are you so
Boop. Boop.
rude, man?
Just stop doing that.
I can't help it. This is my voice.
No, it's not. It's an affectation that annoying teenagers and rich people use to sound like they don't give a shit. Except you work in a coffee shop, so I know you're not rich, and you don't look like a teenager. Unless you're Eunice Kennedy Shriver, knock it off.
So just because I talk like this means I don't give a shit? And what exactly am I supposed to not give a shit about?
That's an
This is great.
excellent question to ask yourself in your actual voice.
Excuse me. Some of us would like to order.
You're a total dick, man.
There you go. Good. You're talking.
Boom.
Hi, everybody. This is a request for help. So, our posts about our holiday fundraiser this year.
This year is this year. Last year was last year. It's this year. It's this year
Are getting quite a few likes. They're getting shared. They're getting attention, but that attention isn't really converting into donations.
Into donations. This year, we have donations.
To donations this year. And I'm not entirely sure why.
I'm not entirely sure why. Why don't you want to give to the Ukraine? Why? Is it this year in donations?
To donations this year. Entirely sure why.
I think everybody's getting annoyed. Someone else sent me a good clip. It was somebody on TikTok, a girl on TikTok, imitating the two Kardashians. You know, in a way that they were. I don't have that anymore, but that was very entertaining as well.
Hi, I'm Brie Bella.
Hello, I am Bonnie Wright.
Hi, I'm Alec Baldwin.
It's Alec. Hey, Alec.
Amber Valletta.
I'm Jane Fonda.
I'm Richa Morjani.
For over 50 years, Greenpeace has been committed to protecting fragile ecosystems that so many endangered species call home.
Boom. Greenpeace. I'm an environmental person. Like, I care about the environment. Well, I guess, to whatever extent, right? I'm a nature person. I, liked wildlife, and I recognize people are polluting this earth, and we're a problem, right? We're not making the earth a better place. We are definitely contaminating it in different ways. There's a real pollution problem, and that includes 5G and all the electromagnetic crap that we're putting out. We're over-consuming, and we're making toxic garbage, and, the right-wing people are kind of douchey about this, right? Because of, making it political and, instead of really caring about the environment. I don't believe in the global warming scam, but we are polluting the planet, right? But Greenpeace isn't the answer. Like, I worked briefly, was in my second attempt at college, for a lobbying group called Clean Water Action. I went door to door. I worked there like a week. It was very sales-oriented, but they had some negative things that they were saying, in the establishment itself as a lobbying group about Greenpeace, right? Greenpeace was, had a really bad reputation even amongst these liberal groups, right? Somebody who I knew, through my, past relationship, or, my ex's father worked as a CEO, he was retired, but he had worked as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And Greenpeace had come to them and said, again, I don't know if I heard this story firsthand or my ex related it to me, but Greenpeace came to them and said, you either give us $1 million or we're going to come after you, right? So it says I didn't play the whole clip because it's annoying, but it says that Greenpeace doesn't take corporate money. They don't take corporate donations, but if this story is to be believed, then they extort money from corporations, right? And I don't know, it is whatever it is, right? Maybe true, but either way, these groups can't be trusted. They are, they're political and they're self-serving, and, the fact that they engage with celebrities. And Jane Fonda, Hanoi Jane, she was controversial in the Vietnam War, and back then when, they're bringing in these celebrities because they're going after liberal money. So I guess, I guess you can understand Jane Fonda because she's no longer sort of toxic. But Alec Baldwin is, right? Alec Baldwin, he just shot a coworker in the face, and that's following him around. Like, he's losing jobs and all these things. And so, them associating their brand with Alec Baldwin when he kind of represents the personality, sort of the white man with power that gets away with things, that the environmentalists are, that's the brand they're going after. But they're pushing Alec Baldwin out there. It's kind of, it's kind of hilarious. But anyways, let's move on to Britney here. So here's Britney J. Spears, and she did something weird here.
Guys, 30 Seconds to Mars.
Santa.
There's this Marilyn Monroe song she'll play. I gotta mute it because they'll be copyrighted. So there she is drinking some, I would assume, eggnog, and then she gets into her this is her weird sex kitten thing. It's just uncomfortable, right? Because she acts like such a little girl, and she's mentally ill, and then she tries to do this, weird. And then she gives you the finger for some reason. Why'd you give us a finger, Britney? And then she slams her face into a cake, and she smears it all over her body, and she holds up number one, and then she's back to the beginning again. And just odd, right? 30 Seconds to Mars, yep, it's my B-day all week. No, it was your B-day one day, Britney. You're born on one day, right? Unless you're born on midnight, It's not all week, though. And I know my Instagram has been down a few times, but honestly, I did the last 2 times myself. Oops, accidentally pressed the wrong button. What do you mean press the wrong button? You clicked on something? Damn, that stupid button. And Jolly Santa on his way, y'all. My goal this year is to learn to be as comfortable with people as they are with me. I want to go to a wedding this year, grab the mic, sing a song or two, and fall down 8 times. It's my first year in 15 years being treated as an equal, and good God, I didn't know about this no rule thing. Psst, this video is so blurry, sorry. Is it a little awkward or weird to watch? 3 question marks? Yeah, it is. Duh, that's the whole point. There is no point. There is no point, Britney. Okay, so here he is.
As I said, my dad used to say, paycheck's a lot more than, it's about your dignity. It's about your place in the community. It's about everything you've worked for.
Paychecks. Look at these 4 ghouls, like they're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Like, look at this guy right here. And her. This is why it's hard for Republicans to understand Democrats that they could believe in this guy. But you could say the same thing about Trump, right? Because, Trump is a clown and you believe in the clown, right? It's the same way you feel about Democrats not being able to see this, decrepit piece of crap here is the same way they feel about you, right? It's like a delusionary, people put on their delusionary goggles. Netflix sucks with their, it's stupid for them to copyright trailers because you're promoting their crap. But somebody sent me this. There's this one little part here.
No one sees what's happening behind the closed doors.
Nobody sees what's happening behind closed doors. And so that's very incriminating about the royal family because it leaves everything up to your imagination. And there's a lot of information out there, especially since they've admitted to being cannibals and the descendants of Vlad the Impaler, that would lead you to believe it's an effed up family, right? A rigged game. Poultry farmers complain of big debt, unreliable income. In North Carolina, poultry farmers get into business because they are told it's a way to make a steady income with minimal effort. But it doesn't always work out that way. The system leaves many farmers struggling to make ends meet. The U.S. Justice Department alleges that leading poultry companies have engaged in deceptive and illegal practices in dealings with the farmers who raise their birds. Advocates say that the system allows multi-billion-dollar poultry companies to profit at the expense of farmers and keep them trapped in a cycle of debt. You know, there was when my second homestead, the second homestead my family built, there's a guy who lived next door to me, and his wife's dad, his father-in-law, had been doing dairy farming forever, and his dad lived, like behind our house. Like I'd seen his dad's farm, and he had Holstein cows. I had some dairy cows. We were milking Dutch belted, and he had Holstein cows, and my neighbor told me that his father hadn't, they hadn't raised the prices of milk since 1970s, like in terms of what the farmers were getting. And now they were all buying these big machines because they get into all this, machinery. You need all this machinery and you need all this, equipment. And they take out loans and they think they're going to make enough money and they don't. And, especially small farms and not, these cows had access to grass. And so they were, healthier cows than ones that are stuck in some, warehouse somewhere that are fed crap, grain or whatever. And they're living in feces and disgusting, and just all of it, right? And if you go and you smell where they milk the cows, it's a combination of cow dung, bleach, and spoiled milk, right? It's an unpleasant smell. Like you can smell it from the road, right? Like you drive by a place where they're milking cows, even in the country. And so, I've known about this for a while, that farmers aren't getting paid, anything. And I mean, they're not, they're operating in a defunct system at a loss. Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner seem cold with each other at Bash. Right? Is the stress of rough patch in the Trump camp putting a little strain on Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump's marriage? Well, Jared Kushner, they both seem like they're dead people. Like she seems like some sort of a dudeish mannequin, and this guy's just like a robot, right? The GOP is refusing to celebrate Britney Griner's release. A few things on this. The MAGA faithful who refuse to celebrate Britney Griner's release. Well, I'm not going to celebrate it. I'm not against it. Britney Griner back on U.S. soil after 10 months in prison. A bad Victor Bout deal and a terrible day for the U.S. This is Britney Griner was Britney Griner freed from prison swap for merchant of death Victor Bout.
Moments ago, standing together with her wife Sherelle in the Oval Office, I spoke with Britney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable...
He's got lower energy than I've ever seen.
Circumstances.
This is supposed to be a victory for him, right?
Britney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along.
Should have been there all along.
This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hardworking public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly.
She's shaking her head.
To secure her release. I also want to thank the UAE for helping us facilitate Britney's return, because that's where she landed. These past few months have been hell for Britney and for Charlie and her entire family and all her team.
I mean, was he saying her...
Moments ago, standing together with her wife Sherelle...
Wife? Did you mean wife or wife?
Her wife Sherelle in the Oval Office, I spoke with Britney Griner.
I couldn't even hear what he was saying, right? Just he's just a mess out there. There was one more here. Donald Trump Jr. blasts deal-free American-hating Britney Griner. He labeled Griner as American-hating, apparently for exercising her First Amendment right to protest by calling for calls for racial justice in the U.S. But you could say that there's the truth community is also exercising their First Amendment rights. Donald Trump Jr. is a piece of crap. Dislike him. Much worse than Trump. Says no cuts, better deals than Biden. We get an awful American-hating WNBA player while Russia gets an international arms dealer. The adults are back. So I want to cover that, and when I get to the voiceover portion, it's easier for me to talk about that. I want to come back to that. Senator Christine Sinema leaves Democratic Party and registers as an independent. Trevor Noah says bye to Daily Show and teary-eyed tribute to fans and black women. Well, let's hear what he has to say here.
I'll tell you now, do yourself a favor. You truly want to know what to do or how to do it, or maybe the best way or the most equitable way? Talk to black women. They're a lot of the reason that I'm here, and so I'm grateful to them.
So how do you see that playing out for the rest of us, Trevor? People who were watching your show. That a person would go up to a black woman and say, Trevor Noah says to talk to you. Can you tell me what to do or how to do it best? Or, I mean, can you give me advice about my life and tell, what are you saying here? People are supposed to go out and seek a person based in their, their color and their race and their gender, and specifically make friends with them with the sole intent to get advice and someone lost in life. And I mean, it's a very weird thing to say, right? It's he's trying to praise the women in his life or whatever. That's one thing that helped him, but he's trying to promote this idea that everyone should go out and have a friend like this or a mentor because it works for him, right? I mean, if you think about it in this terms, if someone came out and said, yeah, you really want to know what's going on in life, you want someone to tell you what to do and how to do it best, go talk to an old white man, right? Go get advice from an old white man. It's a weird thing to say, right? And anyways, Trevor Noah was just horrible because he wasn't funny, right? I mean, late night comedy suffered because when Trump became, what Trump was or what Trump is, they couldn't make fun of the left anymore. They ceased being comedians and they became political shills. But even before that, Trevor Noah just wasn't funny, right? I saw his stand up and he just wasn't funny, right? And so I don't know what kind of ratings he got. I don't think good ones. He got into it with Ye, and he was just always on the wrong side of things. And he was just always really pushing the liberal agenda. And they did that before on The Daily Show. But sometimes they would cover Democrats or whatever it might be. And, Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart days, Trump wasn't the guy. And so they could be, more comedic, right? They could go after, they still lean to the left heavy. But when Trump came around, they just stopped being comedians like they just all did. And it's embarrassing what they're putting out there, right? Especially when you got Jojo Magoo, who's just a complete tool and a joke. I covered this last video, the one that isn't up yet. It's still being evaluated. It's been watched by 3 people or 3 times, and they're still trying to figure out if it's monetizable. And so copyright, someone was saying, you got a copyright strike. They don't do copyright strikes like they used to. They used to be the big problem years ago. But now they've worked it out where, if you use material that's copyrighted, they either block the video or they make it so you can't get it monetized, right? And so it depends on the, whoever's the, doing the copywriting. So I just go back and I take, some of it out or all of it out or whatever. Oftentimes it's stupid on their part because I'm promoting something. I'm bringing it to people's attention, something, that's what you want from the internet. And some of the corporations know that. The guy who owned, whatever that ghoul's name, who owns I don't know if he's still alive, whatever his name is, doesn't matter. But the guy who owns MTV and Comedy Central and all those, he's really horrible. CBS is bad. Netflix is horrible. All of it. Anyways, Trevor Noah wasn't funny. Regardless of anything else, he wasn't funny, and he was just political, and they're all political hacks. and they've taken the entertainment value, just like with Saturday Night Live, and Jimmy Kimmel's is the worst, right? Stephen Colbert is bad, and Jimmy Kimmel is the worst. Twitter roasts Jennifer Lawrence for saying she's the first woman to lead an action film. And here's her getting roasted. A comment here. Apparently so self-obsessed that she forgets a ton of other women were cast as female leads in action films, like Linda Hamilton, hello, Sigourney Weaver, Angelina Jolie, Halle Berry, Uma Thurman, and Ladies of Kill Bill. Death Proof cast. Lawrence is so annoying.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work. We were told girls and boys can both identify with a male lead, but boys cannot identify with a female lead.
Oh, absolutely.
And
It's the don't have the balls to pull it off, lady.
Because no one thinks we have the balls to pull this off.
it just makes me so happy every single time I see a movie come out that just blows through every single one of those beliefs and proves that it is just a lie to keep certain people out of the movies, to keep certain people in the same positions that.
The problem is there's two problems with it. You're talking about the action movie genre, and you could get rid of action movies. They're violent, but they're movies that are for men. They are movies that are targeted towards a male audience, and they're heroic movies. There's a hero, there's a guy, a tough guy, Clint Eastwood, and Dirty Harry could be an anti-hero, and for years and years, those roles were played mostly by men. Women started to make it into video games. Like there was women characters that like kick ass and whatever it is, and superheroes are superheroes. But in every other realistic movie, when you have a supermodel, when you have women who are small and weigh 130 pounds or 120 pounds or whatever it is, right? Even 200 pounds, they're still not as physically strong as men, right? I mean, it's, testosterone is a thing. Testosterone is a creative force, and it also leads to aggression, right? Young men have more testosterone, more aggressive, and it's, even with women, and testosterone in women, it's it's something that it's not, it's not all about aggression, but you see this in the mammalian population. You have these budding animals, herding, animals that are with horns. Bighorn sheep and deer and cows and buffalo and bison, they fight each other for the right to mate, right? And they push each other. There's this competition. And there's these deer that were it's called the rutting period, where the males are fighting each other for the right to mate. And we drove by this, and there are two male deer, and they with the big horns, right, with the full set of antlers. And they were going at it, and one of them got its neck broken. It was just laying on the ground, and the other one was, connected to it, and they couldn't. People came out and were trying to, help them or whatever. Eventually, the other deer died. They both died, right? And so, they fight for the right to procreate, and it's, there's a lot of testosterone. I talked about these wild tusker elephants, these immature elephants. They were, coming into their adulthood. And the testosterone was just pouring out of their eyes, and those there's like holes on their face, like just running down their face, right? And they were one killed a rhino. It's a great video about this. It's something you can find probably on the internet. And they were running through villages and just tormenting everyone, right? Because of their testosterone levels. And then they brought in more mature males that sort of put them in their place and calmed them down or whatever it was, right? But testosterone has a lot of energy, a lot of force in it. And of course, in many mammals, the male is much bigger than the female, and certainly in human beings. Like in praying mantis, the female is usually 3 times larger than the male. Often eats the male after mating, right? So there's, it is whatever it is, right? But in humans, men have thicker bones and they have, more muscle mass, and are better at sports and, and aggression and fighting. And being great at fighting isn't, like it isn't like it's valued in America and I guess in the world or all the superhero stuff, but it's just not that important, right? Most people fighting, physical fighting doesn't play, something positive in their lives, and people go to jail, assault, for assaulting people. And so it isn't like it's really that great a thing. And so they've taken these action movies and they've taken out the male leads. And oftentimes they have, women models, some, thin woman, some, light woman beating up big football players, like, men who are huge, right? And it just can't physically happen, right? It doesn't matter how much kung fu you know. There's a difference in, body mass and, you just physically couldn't hurt a man, right? These, like someone like Jennifer Lawrence, it's something they've pushed now forever, right? It's a whole, it's this idea that men are kind of aware of, I think most men, that women want to get into every part of men's lives, right? Like you can't have your own little separate little, man cave kind of thing. You see more and more women invading the sports arena. We have women announcing, you have women, commentators, and it's like, men can't have their little world, right? They can't have their, their specific action movies or whatever. And now they have to push this feminist agenda, and it's always comes with an agenda. It isn't like they put this kick-ass woman in a movie and they don't mention that she's a woman and how, there's not any sort of feminist, some feminist rhetoric that they put in there. And it sucks. It sucks to watch because it's so heavy-handed and it feels like you're just invading the man's world to wreck it, right? Just to, when we won't give you anything, right? We gotta have everything you have. We have to. There's plenty of like Lifetime movies and these kind of chick flicks, and they don't put some like man in there to like wreck it. Like they keep the genre pure. These romantic comedies and things that are targeted towards women, they don't put some like some violent Clint Eastwood character in there that's out of place and and preaching about all kinds of Trump stuff or whatever, right? Making America great again or whatever it is, right? There's a political agenda. We see it across the board, and there's great movies with women as lead characters, like that one movie I really like, that science fiction movie, The Arrival movie, starring Amy Adams, and that guy plays Hawkeye in the Avengers, right? And she's a strong woman character who, has nothing to do with her kicking somebody's ass, right? There's no physical violence, but she, it's tied to her being a mom. There's a whole kind of cool thing. She's translating. She's trying to break this code. These aliens show up, and I don't really have to go into it, but I've seen the movie like 5 times. My wife and I just watched it, and it's it's an emotional movie, and it's really well done. It's one of the examples. There's lots of others I can't think of at the top of my head. We have a strong woman character. Again, centering something around motherhood is important because that's what's that's something different about women, right? It's specific to women, and motherhood's such an important thing. They demean motherhood. Just a mom. Like women are told, being just a mom is not enough, right? Being a mom is essential to a good society. Think about mother mammals and them raising their children, and maybe it's only a couple of years or whatever it is. But without that, the species dies. Women are essential in raising children and teaching them how to love. Like I said, one of the most important things, but so many other things. And women have a more predisposition to love. Their hearts are different, and so, like, it's really misogynistic to ignore motherhood, and then put women in these roles, these action roles. It just doesn't work, right? It's like and it's so contrived, and it's like, oh. Again, it always comes with some dialogue or some explanation of, they're just mansplaining feminism to us, right? Like it's, their version of mansplaining. But anyways, let's get back to this Brittany Griner thing. See, the right wings, I know people have sent me stuff. There was somebody sent me something this morning about how the Russians were saying there's this other guy. I forget what the other guy was there. I didn't really follow this Britney Griner story very closely. But there was this other guy, and, they were trading. Again, this is a way they're trying to humiliate and divide America. But this Russian person was saying, again, was it Russian? I don't know. But was saying that the liberals are, wanted Britney Griner, but didn't care about this other guy. And, the Russians are saying that to provoke division, right? Because, we're at war, right? Russia and America are at war, whether, people want to. I mean, World War III is in its initial stages, right? But the thing is that, and they embarrassed Jojo Magoo because he just did some gun control thing, and now he's releasing an arms dealer. And so they're really, they got him. They got him because this was a embarrassment for him. And it's political. And so Britney Griner, I don't know what kind of person she is or, in terms of, whatever. We don't know, she's a nice person, a good person, but it doesn't matter. She's caught in a, situation where she went to Russia. Horrible timing. And they were looking for something like this, right? They don't care about her having cannabis oil. But it was, and again, she broke the rules, and, that was stupid to travel to a foreign country with cannabis oil. It was not smart on her part. And the people around her and, the people, she's going there for a specific reason, basketball related, right? And so, her handlers and people didn't take care of her. And, and why would you even let somebody go when this thing with the Ukraine was happening? It was just, it was a disaster on every level. But she's a political prisoner, which is never a good thing. It has nothing to do with her. It has to do with the United States and Jojo Magoo, and they were embarrassing. They weren't going to release her, before the midterms because it would be a win for Jojo Magoo, right? And so, all of that stuff. But the problem is you don't want to get it so, and it is already at this stage, where it's so political that if there's a left-leaning president, he's not going to go after and save somebody who's a right-wing person who's been taken in another country, right? And, it's, or if it's a left-leaning person, and it's Trump being president, they're not going to help either, right? When you have a situation like Trump helped, Lonzo Ball's brother, LaMelo Ball's brother, LiAngelo, when he and a couple other guys stole sunglasses in China, and they were, and Trump helped, at least Trump pretended to help or whatever happened there. But you don't want politics to get in the way of helping an American who's in prison in some other country for political reasons, right? And so that's why, people should, if it's you or your loved ones and Biden's president, you don't want to, make these things political, right? If American is held, you just get the American back. That's how it should be. But it's not that way anymore, right? Again, she did something stupid, brought cannabis oil, but does she deserve to be in some gulag prison in Russia for 20 years, for the rest of her life? No, it's, it's getting to the point that you'll see it. It'll be very risky to travel as an American because the world is going to turn against America when America, this thing plays out. Right now, they want Americans coming to their country and spending American dollar, but when that isn't the case anymore, everyone's hates. There's a lot of resentment towards America in the world. See, people don't think about what's best or what's wise anymore. And that's the issue that I'm talking about. Because you don't want to politicize something like this. You just don't. It should be, if an American is, you can go out and try to, draw attention to a situation where Americans, captured or whatever it is, or, being held as a political prisoner. But you don't want to get into what side they're on or whatever it is, because it's bad policy. It's bad for everybody, right? I don't like Americans. I don't like the left. I don't like the right. But, It transcends something like that, right? I mean, think about how, scary it is for people who are being in prison, but, people are in prison here in America wrongfully. And so there's that, right? There's political prisoners here. I mean, it's just, and the more toxic it gets, the more that's going to be the problem. And so, I mean, you just got to pick your battles. Like, who cares about Brittany Griner? Like, it's just, you gotta like, it's that when you're in a relationship with deteriorating marriage or a relationship with somebody, and you're just sniping at everything, right? Like, do you really care about Brittany Griner? Like, the right wing people, you gotta snipe about that, right? Same thing with the left. Like everything that Trump does, like it's everything that Trumpers do, and they gotta point it out constantly. It's just after a while you're seen as the problem. You're just a whiner. You're a nagger. You're a complainer. Anyways, let's wrap this thing up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramount, definitely point from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.